Panels in gros point needlework fashioned into a carpet, each inscribed with the date of completion and the signature Mary R, Mary Regina. This exquisite piece of craftsmanship is the work of a queen. Queen Mary, the mother of King George VI, built it up piece by piece through the last 8 years. Equally to be admired are the skill in needlework and the painstaking perseverance which has gone into the work. This care and skill is typical of the Queen's whole life. Now, a great-grandmother, Queen Mary has set us all a pattern as queen, as a mother, and as a craftsman. In this 4 generations picture of the royal family, we're reminded of a very happy occasion, Prince Charles' christening. It lifts the curtain for a glimpse of the happy family life which is the reward of Queen Mary in her old age. Although the Queen Mother's public engagements have necessarily diminished with the years, she remains a familiar figure with the British public. Most of us are old enough to remember the Jubilee of 1935, when she drove with her husband, King George V, to offer thanksgiving at St. Paul's Cathedral for 25 years of eventful reign. It's still possible to recall the sincere rejoicing which the Jubilee inspired, for the partnership of King George and Queen Mary set an example of nobility and steadfast service which was acclaimed by all the world. Since the King's death in 1936, Queen Mary has fully maintained their joint tradition. Naturally, she undertook fewer engagements, but she was, of course, seen by the public on such important occasions as the coronation of her son as King George VI. Her pleasure in the nation's acclamation of the new king and his wife, Queen Elizabeth, was manifest. She was seen frequently in the company of her granddaughters, the Princesses Elizabeth and Margaret, still young enough at that time to require escorting to the royal tournament. During the Second World War, she undertook a number of royal engagements, but as was to be expected, her activities became further reduced, and it was at this time she began work on the panels, which eventually became incorporated in her carpet. At the Victory Parade, there was a charming scene of royal greeting when the King and Queen and royal princesses arrived to take their places on the saluting dais. More recently, at Windsor, the Queen Mother shared in the royal welcome to an important visitor from the United States. Mrs. Roosevelt, who had already made firm friends with Queen Mary during her previous visits, had come to unveil Britain's tribute to her late husband, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Queen Mary has always been a connoisseur of the arts and an admirer of the industry which produced them. Her tours of manufacturing plants were by no means perfunctory inspections. Invariably a visitor to London's annual Ideal Home exhibition, she is well able to appreciate the skill which has gone into making the various exhibits. It is the same knowledgeable spirit which brings her annually to the Chelsea Flower Show, where all the latest refinements in the artistry of landscape gardening are on exhibition, and of course the latest species of flowers. When Denmark staged an exhibition in London and King Frederick and Queen Ingrid came to open it, Queen Mary was there as much to satisfy her own interest as to support her royal cousin. And the British Industries Fair is an institution which Queen Mary has not missed for the last 20 years. With Queen Elizabeth in this picture, she critically inspects the exhibits, showing particular interest in the fabrics. So nobody in Britain was surprised to learn that the Queen Mother was herself not merely a connoisseur, but an artist in needlework. The carpet which she has created over this period of 8 years would normally, of course, have become a cherished family possession. But in her zeal to help the country in its present economic stress, she decided to make a gift of it to the British nation to be sold for dollars. So the beauty of the handiwork and the patience of the undertaking has been enriched by true patriotic purpose. When the carpet was on exhibition in London at the Victoria and Albert Museum, over 90,000 people came to see it, among them the Queen and Princess Margaret. Her Majesty talked about it to Lady Reading, who as head of the Women's Voluntary Services is chairman of the committee responsible for its disposal. To Queen Elizabeth, of course, the carpet was already familiar, but this was the first time she'd seen it completed.
We're very proud and very glad to think that it's now going to cross the Atlantic to the United States and to Canada. And I speak we shall miss it here. We're very pleased to think that it's going over there.
I think we're always sad that you go away, but it's also thrilling to think that it's going to be you.
Yes, indeed, I know. And what a lead, isn't it, when you think of the work that's gone into it? I know.
As Her Majesty has just said, the carpet is now being sent on exhibition to cities in the United States and Canada, where it is sure to arouse tremendous interest. Thus, at the end of a long life of public service, the Queen Mother of Britain continues not only to set an example to her fellow countrymen, but to foster the high standards of British craftsmanship.